Hi, welcome to Digital Formation Webinar Thursdays. My name is Colin Chapman. I am the Digital Missioner here at Digital Formation at the General Theological Seminary. And for the next 45 minutes to 50 minutes, we're going to be talking about technology and the way it intersects with faith and church life. That's what we do here. Real point of honesty, I guess. This is the second run through our webinar. Typically, we do these live and we record. We have a little bit of a chat room. We have a back and forth, a conversation. Our webinar didn't record properly that we had about a few hours ago. So we're doing it again. Not so live, but with the same energy. I remember the questions that were asked, and we'll have a good time. But thank you for joining us here on YouTube. You got a more polished presentation, I'm sure, and we'll move forward. But so if you're new to us here at Digital Formation, this is who we are. We are a program through the General Theological Seminary, the oldest Episcopal seminary in the country. This program was started a few years ago by my good friend Joseph Matthews and I. We were both seminarians then. He is now the communications director in the Diocese of California. I am the curate here in Christ Church, Rye, New York, just about 45 minutes east of Manhattan. My passions are church and technology and gadgets and social media and all things kind of techy and nerdy, and I love seeing how the two meet. So that's why I love to talk to you all and kind of get to do these programs through the seminary. It's a great joy for me. So we specifically target church leaders, both clergy and lay people, on how to use these tools. Hopefully what we'll cover in the next 40 minutes, we'll talk about how to use these tools and how, for your congregation or your nonprofit or your personal ministry or whatever it may be. At Digital Formation at the seminary, we offer these webinars. If you go to youtube.com/digitalformation, you'll see old webinars as well as new, quick little how-to videos on how to do little things on the internet. We have trainings on campus and guest speakers, which we'll talk about at the end, as well as some other on-demand content on YouTube. Also, if you'd like, we'd love you to follow us at DigiFormation on Twitter. That's DIGI Formation. You see that right there on the bottom. So, our topic today, we're going to talk about the cloud. What is the cloud? The cloud is a term I'm sure you've heard in passing. It's a term that gets thrown around a lot in the media, in the tech columns. It's become kind of turn of the century, past turn of the century jargon. What does it mean when we say the cloud? We're going to break it all down today. We're going to give a little bit of history of the cloud, what it is, why and how it's become what it is today. And then at the second half of our discussion today, I'm going to talk about 5 cloud-based tools that you can use in your church or your ministry to better evangelize, communicate, collaborate. So we have a lot to go over. It's a lot of fun information. So let's get started. First, I want to show you a picture of the cloud. It's amorphous, but the cloud does look like something. Here it is, right here. This is a copy. This is a picture of Google's cloud. When you sign on to Google, you're accessing the cloud. If you have a Google Drive, if you have your email through Google, this is where it's stored. It's not in some magical ether above, but it's in on a computer, on multiple computers, in server farms, and this is just one of them. You see these blue things here? These boxes are computers, and everything else is cooling to make these computers nice and cool, because they're running all the time, because you can access your data all the time. But that's what the cloud looks like. That's Google's. Apple's also has. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of because it's Apple, it looks beautiful. Here we go. This is a picture of an Apple server farm. A server farm is just the name of a place with a bunch of computers in it. And to give you an idea of what they look like, they're just out in an open field somewhere. So that's let me pull up this image here. This is really telling. When we talk about a server farm, we just mean what looks like a giant mall in the middle of nowhere. And so that's the cloud. The cloud is really just the internet. The internet was started, it was just two machines talking to each other. It started with really simple information, some quick data, contact information, text. Text evolved into pictures, evolved into sound, evolved into video. Now the internet is its own operating system. There are computers out there that are nothing more than a browser and a Wi-Fi access point. If you can access the browser, you can access the cloud. And the cloud is really kind of where most of the activity in the internet is happening nowadays. So where did the cloud come? Like, how did we get into this point of having a cloud? You may remember 10 years ago, 5 years ago, most information was on your hard drive. Before wireless internet, before there's a Wi-Fi hotspot everywhere you go, you were stuck with the information on your computer, whether a desktop or a laptop, and if you were away from your computer, you didn't have that information. Two things happened at about the same time, and they merged at a very similar event. Data has always has been growing since the start of the computer. It started on punch cards, you may remember. Then it moved to floppy disks and hard disks. These hard disks were just a few megabytes in size, and they could fit. Nowadays, you'd probably get one or two, large Microsoft Word files on one of these nowadays. Then, as files became larger and more demanding, as media became more digital, we moved on to CD-ROMs. Of course, there's audio CDs, but then and those were only about 650, 700 megabytes. So you can get an album, 24 uncompressed or 12 uncompressed audio tracks on there, or a lot of data, a lot of documents, even a lot of pictures. And they then evolved into DVDs. As the video became digital, you can get, this is nearly 5 gigabytes of data, and you can get that. You get films on here now, so you see more and more is becoming digital and in the cloud. This is nearly 5 gigabytes. Then these became more popular. This is a thumb drive. My first thumb drive was 126 megabytes. So 3 megabytes. My first thumb drive was 128 megabytes. You can fit a lot of those on one of these. But this one is 16 gigabytes. These, although the size hasn't changed much, although this one looks like a key, this one goes on my keychain. The size hasn't changed much. Of the device, the capacity has. There's 32, 64, 128 gigabyte thumb drives out there. So, storage, high-speed portable storage devices started going down in price. So you can have more information with you. The more information you could carry with you, the more information you want to carry with you. At the same time as the digital device these became very popular. In about 2007, the iPhone came out. The iPhone was not the first smartphone, but the iPhone was really the first touchscreen portable computer that people could carry around in their pocket to access the internet. someone who wasn't a business person, someone who didn't work for a Fortune 500 company. People who own iPods owned iPhones. That meant more people wanted their information wherever they went. The iPhone started with a few gigabytes. You had 8 gigabytes. There's 4 gigabyte, 8 gigabytes, 16 gigabytes. They grew and grew. Up, you can get 32 gigabytes. Even some phones you can expand them. But no matter how large a phone's capacity is, it can't match the capacity of your computer. It can't match the terabyte, which is 1,000 gigabytes. You can't match all that space that's on a computer. So there was then kind of a choice. Do you want data with you, or do you want your data at home? Around this same time, the cost of high-speed storage has just come down in price. You'll remember possibly that there was, before a while back, there was email that you had to delete your emails. You can only carry so much email at a time, 250 megabytes, 500 megabytes. Gmail started breaking the gigabytes barrier, 1 gigabyte, 5 gigabytes of email space, to the point where now you no longer have to worry about how much. You don't delete email, you archive it, you keep it, so you can search all the email you've ever been given. This was the first time people started really using the cloud, was through these high capacity email services, where you can search tons and tons of data anywhere you are. Because this is the second run through of the webinar, I do have to drink a little bit more for the voice, but we'll make it through, right? So as the price of storage went down, what people can offer off-site grew. So you had all these converging technologies happen all around the same time in 2000, give or take a few years. And then when the mobile platforms started taking off, apps became accessible. So you can get this information on your phone. I now couldn't imagine not having the cloud in my pocket, where I can access all of my files at once. So that's where we are today. Computers, the sales of notebooks and desktops are plummeting, and the sales of smartphones and tablets are rising. Tablets and cell phones are largely cloud-dependent devices. You need your information on the cloud out there because these really hold a fraction of what your desktop used to be able to hold. So when you buy a laptop or a desktop nowadays, they kind of come with the cloud pre-installed. And I'll explain to you what that means. We can minimize this. If you were to go out tomorrow and buy a Windows machine, you can get you get Windows 8 as the operating system on it, Microsoft Windows 8, and with Microsoft Windows 8 comes this SkyDrive. SkyDrive is a portion of your hard drive that automatically syncs with Microsoft's cloud. Now, Microsoft's cloud. No, when we talk about the cloud, it's this amorphous thing in cyberspace. But there's different clouds. Microsoft has a cloud, Apple has a cloud, Google has a cloud, Dropbox has a cloud. And they don't always share well, and we'll talk about that a little bit more moving forward. But so when you buy a Microsoft machine, you'll get an invitation to SkyDrive, where you can load your Microsoft Office files, your pictures, whatever it is, up automatically into the cloud. If you were to buy an Apple machine tomorrow, an Apple laptop or whatever, even an iPad, you'll be invited to join iCloud. Same thing. All your content gets saved in the cloud. So all your documents on a Mac, and there's a lot of apps that use iCloud too, to save your files on iCloud, go up there. If you were to buy a Google Chromebook or Chromebox, they'd give you an invitation to join Google Drive, which is Google's cloud. Now, these Chromebox and Chromebooks are really kind of neat. These are computers that don't really have much of an operating system except a browser, and everything's done in the cloud. But now the crowd. So these are just examples that the cloud has become so prevalent in everything that we do on our computers nowadays, that every new computer you're automatically going to be thrown into the cloud. So just like Microsoft, I got a pop up. So you can't avoid the cloud. So we better just know how to navigate it. So that we have a little bit of a history of the cloud, where it came from, where it exists, where the cloud stands today. Before we move into our discussion of kind of cloud apps and cloud functions for kind of ministry, I want to pause and kind of go over a very important piece. Whenever we do these conversations about church and technology, discussions of church have the ability to draw out some of our latent anxieties, particularly around technology and new forms of communication. When we're talking about social media, we're worried about who can see our photos. When we talk about we've talked about texting and tweeting in church. What's happening in the, if someone says something great in the pulpit, tweet it out. Is that going to distract someone from the sermon or the service? So these anxieties come up, and these are good conversations, important conversations to have. The cloud discussion raises a very serious concern and a very serious discussion that's worth having, and that's who can see this information that's out there. And we're not talking about who can get your password, although we'll talk about that in a few minutes. A few months ago, if you were to ask me how safe is Google Drive, I'd say it's great. It's password protected. Google doesn't share my information, the data with anyone, although Google aggregates what's in it to improve their ad listings, but that doesn't bother me. But then Eric Snowden popped up and leaked his information to The Guardian, the English newspaper, and we found out day after day after day more and more about how much the government reads our emails, reads these servers, reads our Facebook, reads our Twitters. And it was a little scary. I even had pause and thought, well, wow, do I really want to store all of my information still in the cloud? I made the choice to stop and take a step back and say, I can only be so safe. I'm not an enemy of the state, and I hope in my time clergy for the church never will be. I'm not cooking the church books, and if you are, I don't recommend it. But you can only be so safe and so secure online. And so my decision is to still kind of move forward with using cloud-based services. If my emails are read, I feel sorry for whoever's reading them because they're boring, and I move on. That being said, that doesn't need to be your point of view. If you're a little more cautious than I am with the internet and with what people can see, you're going to want to take my enthusiasm for some of these products we're going to talk about in a minute with a grain of salt. You're listening to someone who kind of throws a little bit of caution to the wind when it comes to privacy online. If you're a little bit more of a private person, a little bit more of a cautious person, then you may not want to jump in full steam and think about these things. That being said, I think most of these are very safe. All of these are very safe. I don't think anything you post is going to hurt, and I think that the benefits to you and your ministry and your church's evangelism and communication, I think, are worth taking the dive into these platforms. So I want to just kind of talk about a few different types of cloud-based solutions that are out there. So far with Google Drive and Microsoft SkyDrive and iCloud, Apple's iCloud, we've talked a bit about storage online, just storing files so you can access them on a different computer or on a mobile device. That's certainly one thing, and kind of it's kind of your gateway into the cloud. There's a few other ways that I think it's really important to talk about the cloud. one goes hand in hand with storage, and that's backup. Backup's incredibly important. If you're not backing up your computer, talk about risky. I know there's still a ton of people out there who don't back up their computer, but you are one power surge, one coffee spill, one corrupt operating system away from losing those files, and that's just not something you're worth taking the risk for. This is a little safety tangent. They recommend that there's 3 ways that you back up your files on your computer. One, standard second location backup. I have my files on my computer. I also have them on my thumb drive. I also have them on a second external hard drive, whatever it may be. The second way to back up your information they recommend is on hard media off-site. So back up your computer onto DVDs or Blu-rays or whatever it may be, and then have a safety deposit box or someone else's house that you store your discs in. If there's a fire or something tragic happens in your house or where you live, you have that stuff off-site. This is really important with digital pictures. I can't stress, I don't think there's anything I pay more attention to backing up than I do my pictures, because we no longer have photo albums. We have these digital pictures. So I have years and years with my kids on pictures and my wife. I back those up very cautiously. The third suggestion with backing up is digital offsite backups, or kind of cloud offsite backups. And this is kind of a second option for cloud-based. So you have our storage, then you also have backup. I want to talk to you about one service that I think is really quite neat. I feel the need to preface, I'll talk about a few services today that are not free. I'm not advertising for these programs. I make no money from them. I just think they're kind of neat and worth checking into. But the first one I want to talk to you about is Carbonite. Carbonite offers an offline backup for $60 a year here, or starts at $60 a year. I'm sure it goes up from there. What's really neat about using one of these kind of services for digital offsite backup is it throws kind of something on your computer, and it takes your computer and it moves it to a server offsite. So if something happens to your computer, you still have all your information. It takes a little while to start. You'll probably want to keep your computer on overnight. It learns what's backed up and what's not, so it takes a few days. But once it's fully backed up, it's all incremental from then on in. And if something happens to your computer, they can then ship you a hard drive with your information on it, so you don't need to download it all again. If you're not using a backup service, I highly recommend it. We'll talk about a few other options in a few minutes, but this is something that's really worth kind of your time looking into. So that's storage, and then there's backup. These are two kind of ways that you may use the cloud. Let's be honest, those are both pretty nitty-gritty and kind of boring. What's nice about the cloud, particularly with iCloud and SkyDrive, is they're helping us move past file structures in our computer and just helping us have our files, kind of taking the computer part out of using a computer. So let's move away from storage and backup, because the cloud's also a little bit more fun too. One way that you use the cloud already and probably don't even know it is cloud-based kind of entertainment. Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all of these are cloud-based entertainment services. So on Hulu, if you have a TV and you have a box connected to your TV, a Roku box or a like an Apple TV or a PlayStation or whatever it may be, you have access to this info. So Hulu, I think, is something like, I don't know, $10 a month, and you have access to television on your TV, but you're not paying for cable, or you have it on your device too. The videos are stored in the cloud. This is the same with Netflix. This is the same with YouTube. All of these take the video that's in the cloud and put it into on your device. YouTube, Netflix. So there's a growing trend that people were getting rid of their cable and just using these digital services and saving quite a bit of money. Another thing so there's video in the cloud. Another thing is audio in the cloud. One of my favorite services out there as a music fan is Spotify. Spotify is, I think, $10 a month. The price of one CD a month, and it gives you unlimited access to nearly like the entire music kingdom, right? And nearly any band you can think of, minus a few holdouts, are up there. And then, so I have access on my computer, again, on my mobile device, in my car, wherever I am, near unlimited amount of music. When the iPod came out, it was 1,000 songs in your pocket, and then we moved to 10,000 songs, 100,000 songs in your pocket. Now, with the cloud and mobile data, I have an unlimited amount of music in my pocket. More music than I could ever listen to in a lifetime. And that's kind of some of the cloud benefits. And then finally, there's apps in the cloud, applications in the cloud. One thing that Google does very well with its Chrome browser is allows applications to run online in a browser, and I'll show you a few in a few minutes. But also application storage in the cloud. A long time ago, not that long ago, when you bought software, you went to a store and you were given discs or CDs. And you put them in your computer and you install it, and you need to keep these discs. Now, services such as any app store, so apps on your mobile devices, but your Windows 8 store or your OS X, App Store, or Steam, which is a kind of a video game store, lets you buy these programs once, and they install from the internet, and you keep kind of the data off-site. And so if you sign into another computer, you can re-download them. This is a really neat tool, particularly for desktop computers, if you buy a piece of software to kind of get it on the rest of your machines without having to worry about saving disks or access codes or anything like that. So the cloud is everywhere, and you're using it all the time, whether you know it or not. So now that we have an idea of the cloud and maybe feel a little bit more comfortable discussing it, because you know you're using it and you use it already, I want to talk about 5 tools that you can use nearly on a daily, or if not weekly basis, with your church or your ministry, your own personal witness, to help evangelize, to help communicate, to help spread the gospel. Because that's really at the core of what we want to talk about through the Digital Formation program, is that we're a little bit education, we're a little bit massaging anxiety, but we're mostly kind of educating folks for ministry. So I want to talk about 5 what I think are the best cloud-based tools out there. Not really ranked so much, but we'll kind of go from 5 to 1. When the first one I want to start with is one that's been conspicuously absent in our conversation so far, and that's because it, to me, is the cloud. It's become so synonymous with cloud, and that's Dropbox. Dropbox is a piece of software like Google Drive that sits on your computer and will sync any file in that folder to the Dropbox cloud server. But what Dropbox does that helps it stand out over SkyDrive or iCloud is that it's OS agnostic. What does that mean? A strategy that Microsoft and Apple and Google have kind of gotten used to is to keep you from buying their products over a long period of time. If they're starting to lock people into an ecosystem. If you buy an Apple computer, you're going to buy apps through their app store, you're going to use their cloud services, you're going to buy music from iTunes, you're going to buy movies from iTunes. So when it comes to buy your next computer, not only have you bought your computer with them, but you've invested so much of your money in data that the thought of changing to something else is so much bigger than the cost of buying a new computer that you'll just buy another Apple computer. This is the same with Windows. This is the same with an Android phone. All of it's very similar. What's great about services like Dropbox is it's OS agnostic. It's not playing the OS game. You can use it on a Mac. You can use it on a PC. I asked at the webinar if we can use it with Linux, and our good friend Kyle from eFormation and the Virginia Theological Seminary chimed in. He let us know that the Dropbox, you can use it for Linux. And you could also use it online. So even if you just have a browser, you can access your Dropbox. This is really crucial. So it doesn't lock you in. So I'm going to sign into Dropbox here for a second. And signing into Dropbox is going to something's going to pop up. And we're going to take a small tangent to talk about security. Good. This says enter security code. You might have noticed I already typed in my password. Now it's wanting, see, it says enter the security code generated by your mobile authenticator app. What? Most cloud-based services nowadays will offer what's called two-factor authentication. The first factor being your password. Everyone has a password. The second being a code that's randomly generated by an app on your phone, or a code that's sent through a text message to your phone that you also need to enter. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load up what's called the Authenticator app. And you'll see that there's a list of numbers and ticking kind of clocks. As these clocks clear out, the numbers are going to change. So I now then need to type in my Dropbox code in here. And now I don't mind putting that online because already that code is changed. So I need two things to enter into my Dropbox. I need my phone, and then I also need I need the password. So even if you guess my password, you can't get into my cloud accounts without my phone. And then even my phone's password protected. Horror story about passwords. My iTunes account was hacked a few years ago. I had a really simple password. It was Colin1. I can tell you it because I can tell you none of my accounts have Colin1 as their password anymore. It was hacked. The person bought an app. In the app, they spent a lot of money in in-app purchases. I woke up the next morning, and fortunately PayPal was really good at clearing all the information. But after then, I kind of became a password stickler. So two-factor authentication, strong passwords. Maybe we can have a webinar on security later. But anyway, two-factor authentication is really important if you're putting your personal information online, because part of the anxiety out there is who can read it, the other one's who can access it. So if you're password protecting your information, you're getting a two-factor authentication out there, you're being pretty safe. So here's my Dropbox. Now, I'll tell you, one of the most impressive features of Dropbox is share function. What I can do, if I have a file on Dropbox, I can access it from the web and click this link. And now I can email this file to anyone else I want, online or on my phone. That's what kind of pushes Dropbox outside from the rest, is how easy it is you can share. You can do this with Google Drive, but for a lot of Google Drive functions, you need someone with a Google Drive account. Dropbox is very good doing public links, so you can share anything with anyone. One way that I've seen to share sermons, we'll get into a better way to do it in a few minutes, but one way I've seen to share sermons is throw up an MP3 onto your Dropbox and share that link out there. Great tool. But that's Dropbox. I want to kind of move on. I want to move on and talk more about sharing sermons. I want to talk about YouTube. YouTube is my number 4 favorite cloud-based service. We don't often think about YouTube. We often don't think about YouTube as a cloud-based software, but it is. It's video in the cloud. It's not being streamed from someone's computer as it is a server. So what we do here in Rye is we have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/watchccrye. We advertise this on our bulletins and our e-blasts and all of our publications. So we have our sermons here. We have a pretty nice setup here in Rye. We have kind of 2 cameras that we can kind of cut, fade in and out. We have someone doing a sound booth. I know not every church has that. But I can also tell you it's not that hard to do otherwise. If you have a camera on a tripod, you can set up and hit record during your sermon, and then throw it up on YouTube after the service. One of the questions during our live webinar is, do we recommend editing our content before throwing it up online? And without that, have we become more, have we just gotten used to kind of shoddy quality online? I can't recommend enough going the slight extra mile and making your work look good online. If you loaded one of these sermons, you'll see it's kind of, they transition well, they're cut right. If you just throw something up there where you see the camera shaking while you're setting it up, it's going to look dodgy. Yes, people have gotten used to kind of dodgy amateurish video online, but because of that, if you just go a little further in your effort with what you're putting up on the cloud, it's going to go a long way, because we've gotten so used to seeing kind of shoddy work that polished work really shines in kind of the environment that it's in. So go the extra mile. I know on an iPhone, it's incredibly easy to trim and edit your video and your audio right on your phone. And those make great tools for recording video and audio. So this is our page. You kind of click, you can get this week's sermon. One thing that's worth noting, if you're putting your sermon online, this is a great tool for evangelism. This is a great tool for communication. But this is also a great hospitality tool. If you have elderly who are homebound, or anyone with an injury who's homebound, this is a great way to draw them into your church service. When we started talking about putting sermons up online, there was a little bit of resistance, in that there was a concern that if people could just see the sermons online, would they stop coming to church? Don't sell your service short in thinking that that's the only reason people are coming to church. I guarantee you, great sermons online are only going to draw people into your service who want to watch more of what you do, more of your music, more of your liturgy. I've had quite a few emails from people who have seen the sermons and said, I'd like to come to your church, I've seen your sermon online. It's a great outreach tool. It's a great tool for hospitality. So if you can, you can work out a way to record your sermons and get them online on YouTube, do so. If you can't get the video of your sermon, the least you can do is your audio. And that's what I want to talk about, our third, my number 3 cloud-based tool today. That's SoundCloud. SoundCloud is like YouTube for audio. And because audio is so much easier to handle, so much easier to edit, it's kind of a good start if you can't do video sermons. Or video forums, or whatever you can put on audio, you can throw up here. SoundCloud is a little, it's kind of a little social media-ish. You can follow people on SoundCloud. One person I wanted to highlight, one church I wanted to highlight, is the Cathedral of All Souls in the Diocese of Upper North Carolina. As you see here, all of their sermons are up on SoundCloud. So if you can't access it on YouTube, if you can't put video on YouTube, you can do this. And you see over here that there's apps on the App Store and on Google Play. So if you have an Apple device or a Google device, you can then load those sermons on your phone, in your car or wherever. This is a fantastic resource. Even just playing around and kind of seeing what the Cathedral of All Souls is doing makes me think we should even just have our audio up there too. There's no reason. The more options you have, if you have the time, and I know that's a big who has the time. If you have the time, get that stuff up there, because the more opportunities someone has to listen to listen to the Word of God, the more opportunity they have to experience the church. And that's really what we're doing. So SoundCloud, you can comment on different different parts. You can like it. Indie bands are using this to get their music out there, and if, artists are using tools. The church should be using tools too. So check out SoundCloud. I know it's free to sign up. There's a kind of premium features, but it's worth your time. Moving right along, there's two more I want to talk about. One is one of my favorites. I use this next tool every day, and that's Evernote. Evernote is most of my work I keep in a moleskin. Imagine Evernote is your digital moleskin or like a digital manila folder. Evernote is a note-taking device that makes it so. Imagine your desk. Imagine everything on your desk. If you can search everything on your desk, and it can tell you where's that file, where's the rector's report, where is the choir schedule. You type in choir, it popped up on your desk. That's kind of what Evernote does. The more you keep in Evernote, the more you can search it and kind of file what's going on. I take staff meeting notes here. I keep records of volunteer, who's volunteered in Evernote. I put all of my sermon notes in my Evernote. If there's a project I'm working on, I keep it in Evernote so I can just see kind of the history of the project. You can load pictures, you can load movies, you can just put a lot in. Better I just show you. I'm going to sign in Evernote Web here for a minute. And once again, you're going to see that it's going to ask me for my it's going to ask me for my authenticator code. I keep a lot of information on Evernote, and because I make sure that I have my two-factor authentication loaded up there. So you see here's your Evernote here, and this is the web tool. You can search here, so I can search digital formation, and here are all of the my notes that have digital formation in them. But what really shines with Evernote is the app. I mentioned I try to be as OS agnostic as possible and try to stay as much in the cloud as I can. But there is a great Windows and great Mac app for Evernote that lets you kind of see all your files. I told you we're working on a sign project right now for the church. I keep all of the drafts for our sign here, all the changes we've made, different important communication. As you see here, I just took a screenshot with my webcam and put it in Evernote. You can record audio into your Evernote. But what thing that Evernote can do is it can scan text. So I can type revised, and see here it's telling me that the word revised is in this PDF. I can search Episcopal. And I was wondering if it has handwriting kind of, you can find handwriting too. It's incredibly robust. So if you saw the word Episcopal in this text here, really neat software. There's an Evernote, you can pay for it too, and if you're paying for it, you can then share your entire projects with someone else. I really, really recommend it. The paid premium also gives you that two-factor authentication. But I'll tell you, kind of the neatest way to get Evernote on premium, Moleskine has kind of an Evernote notebook, and it's nothing special. It just has some lines on it that lets you take a picture of your notebook and upload it into your Evernote app, which is great. But for every Evernote Moleskine you buy, you get like 3 free months of Evernote Premium. So if you do a lot of note taking, might as well buy the Evernote one and get the free premium ones anyway. Anyway, enough of the plug. That's Evernote. Like I said, I use it a lot, and it's worth just signing up and playing with. The more you use Evernote, the more you find ways to use it. I guarantee you're first going to sign up and think, why am I using it? I was the same way, but the more you use it, it just kind of becomes part of your digital life. Finally, and I know we're reaching kind of the end of our time here together, I want to talk about the last cloud function, and that is Google Drive. I feel like Google is kind of a loaded topic, because Google is not OS agnostic. I think there's kind of three main OSs out there. There's Microsoft, Apple, and Google. Google plays very nicely with iOS. If you have an iPhone, you can use Google with your iPhone very well. Of course, Google plays really nice with an Android device. I started using Google a lot more when I switched to Android. Google does not play very well with Windows 8 and particularly Windows phones. They're kind of clash. But you can still use it on the web very well. And you can still use Google Drive with Windows 8. It's just their web apps or their mobile apps for the Windows Mobile 8 aren't great. So why do I love Google Drive so much? It features that kind of backup storage type function that Google Drive offers. But it offers two things that Dropbox offers. But offers two things that Dropbox does not offer. One, it's the cost. The Google Drive pricing is a lot cheaper than Dropbox. So for $105 a month, you can get up to 100 gigabytes of storage. That's huge. That's enough for all your pictures. That's enough for all your data. That's a lot of storage. Where's my drive? Hi. Oh. That's one of the benefits of Google Drive. The other benefits of Google Drive, it's where Dropbox lets you save documents, Word files, PowerPoint presentations, Excel spreadsheets. Google Drive lets you create and edit those things too. So with Google Drive, you can create a document, presentation, spreadsheet, form, drawing, and it has an incredibly robust word processor. And then you can then share that file with someone else, and they can collaborate with you in real time. You can have two authors in a document at once. One thing we do a lot here, use a lot here at CCRI, is we have our preaching and lectionary schedule here. So in one document, we have who's preaching, who's at the 8 and 10 o'clock service, which readings we're using, which hymns we're using. So in this document shared between myself and the rector, the parish administrator, the musician, the verger, and we all have access to this information, and we can all edit it in real time. I will joke that Google Drive got me through seminary. We use Google Drive so much in our study groups. We put all our information together and edit and read together in real time, all in the same document, and share. It's incredibly robust. If you work in a church where you're fortunate enough to have a team, if you're not the only one there, the easier you can make it to collaborate with others, the better. And so I think Google Drive is a fantastic tool for that. And it's free to start with, but like I said, the pricing plans are really nominal, so you can use it as your backup as well. Those are our 5, right? So just to kind of review what we went over, we talked about Dropbox, YouTube, SoundCloud, Evernote, and our Google Drive. The best part about the cloud is the more you kind of get into the internet, the more you start playing around with mobile devices, the more you'll find uses for them. I'm not one to tell you to just have technology in your life for the sake of it, but I think you'll find it's its advantages are compound. The more you use it, the more you'll find there. We only could talk about what these things are. We couldn't talk today about how to set them up or how to do anything intricate on them. They're great tools online. If you kind of search YouTube, search how-tos for these files. If you see anything in particular, leave something in the comments that you'd like us to kind of cover in our quick how-tos on YouTube. How to upload audio onto SoundCloud, you can let us know that too. Before we leave, I want to talk about one thing really quickly. We do a few things here at Digital Formation, one being the webinars. Our next webinar is October 17th, again at 2 o'clock. To join us live, and hopefully our webinar, this YouTube video will be live next time. We're going to talk about digital giving and financial stewardship. We're already, by then you'll probably be already into your stewardship season, but one of the questions we hear all the time are, what are some good online resources for digital giving? More and more people are becoming comfortable with giving their credit cards online, and more people are becoming more and more comfortable with just paying their tithe right away over the internet instead of having to write a check at church. There's some benefits and disadvantages to this, and we'll talk about all that in October. Then we take November off, but in December you'll see that we'll do social media and hospitality, a topic we've covered in the past, but in how you can use these tools during your holiday season. And finally, I want to point out that on November 6th and 7th, we're hosting the Paddock Lectures at General Theological Seminary. This is our yearly event where we bring in a fantastic speaker to talk about something relevant in the church. Many years it's been kind of church history and theology and kind of some really kind of heady topics. I am absolutely thrilled that this year we're having Dr. Elizabeth Dracher to come and talk about this very subject, technology and the church and how the two intersect. She's kind of one of the pioneers in the field. Her book, Tweet If You Heart Jesus, Tweet If You kind of, the ampersand, the lesson than 3 Jesus. If you haven't read that and you're interested in anything we talked about today, read that first. She's excellent. I'm so glad to have her at this seminary. We're really excited. To sign up for that, if you just go to gts.edu, you'll see gts.edu. You'll see her a link for her down here, and you'll be able to register for that right online. It's going to be a great time. I will be tweeting from it, so if you follow us at DigiFormation, if you can't make the event, and we'll have some exclusive conversations with her as well. It's going to be a great time. That's all for me today. I'm really glad you decided to join us here on YouTube. Next time, I hope you can join us live for the webinar. Click the link below to sign up for the webinars. I'm really excited. But if I don't see you then, I'll probably see you around in the cloud. Take care. Bye.